if I traded it all.
So welcome back, everyone. Now, my next guest has also never been on my show before. I have with me Tate Elke, and he is, are you the owner, the CEO of, the president of Fountain Hills Law Firm?
Yes, I am the owner.
The owner of, and one of the things before, first of all, I want to welcome you to this show, but one of the things that I wanted to get out right away, because it's Fountain Hills Law Firm, is can you help anyone from anywhere or just in Fountain Hills?
Yeah, although my office is in Fountain Hills, I practice throughout the state of Arizona. So anyone that needs any type of legal assistance, they can certainly call me.
I wanted to get that out right away, but I also want you to be able to talk a little bit about yourself and what we're going to talk about today.
Well, thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here. I've been a lawyer for almost 14 years. Before becoming a lawyer, I was in the Marines for 4 years. I'm a Marine veteran. I served in the
Thank you.
Desert Storm as well as Somalia. I've had my own practice for 8 years. And within my practice, we have an associate attorney, full staff, and also we practice in the areas of estate planning, which I want to talk to you about today, but also personal injury and DUI criminal defense.
Okay. Now, let's just kind of talk a little about a couple of things. First of all, do you do free consultations with people?
Absolutely. I meet with folks all the time and offer a free consultation, sit down to see if I can help them.
Okay. Now, in the news, we know that with Prince just dying recently, that he did not have a will. So this is a great time that you're coming on and talking about this, because I want to know, let's talk a little bit about what estate planning is. Do you have to have a lot of money, to do it? And kind of like what it would be if we didn't have one. What is going to happen with Prince, let's say?
Well, with Prince, one thing for certain about his case is that the lawyers are going to make a lot of money, because unfortunately he did not have a will. He didn't have a trust. He didn't have anything in place, at least according to the media. So that is probably going to be litigated for quite some time.
And so let's talk a little about some of these things. Obviously, we don't want that to happen. And one of the things that we just had somebody talking about here in the station, that they almost died with something, and they weren't certainly prepared, but they didn't die, thank God. And it probably jumpstarted her into thinking about these things. And that's important for everybody to know. I had my brother, the same thing. He's not dead, but thank God. But again, you got to prepare yourself, and that's what this is really all about. So listen to this information, because that's what it's for. So first of all, how does somebody then avoid probate?
Well, there are a number of mechanisms that you can put in place to avoid probate, one of which is a common tool is what's called a revocable living trust. A trust is basically a document, an agreement that disposes of your estate when you pass. And it's a wonderful tool to use to avoid probate. And depending on what your circumstances are, it'll kind of dictate what type of trust that you may need.
Okay. Now, being that you can help anyone from anywhere, write this information. He does free consultations. His phone number is 480-FH-LAWYER, and the website is fountainhillslawfirm.com, and he's been doing this for 14 years, 8 years in Fountain Hills. But again, we want to stress that he can help anyone from anywhere. Okay, so does everybody need a trust?
No, absolutely not. There are a number of ways to avoid probate without having a trust. Some examples would include you can name it what's called a transfer on death for your bank account. You can name a beneficiary for your bank account to transfer that asset to your beneficiary or beneficiaries. Another tool to use that is specific to Arizona is what's called a beneficiary deed, similar to let's say a life insurance policy where you would name a beneficiary. You can name a beneficiary for your home that upon your passing, that would transfer outside of probate. Most people, when you are calculating what all their assets are, it's their home, their bank accounts, their investments, and their stuff, the things that they have in their house, cars, and things of that sort. So with your investments, you can name a beneficiary on those as well, which will effectively transfer that to your beneficiaries without the need of probate. And in fact, in that case, the bulk of the estate would transfer outside the will.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about taxes. What about potential estate tax consequences when one passes? How to keep the government out of that part of the estate? Can they?
Yeah, absolutely. Fortunately for those listeners that are living in Arizona, Arizona since 2006 does not have a state tax. So you're not in jeopardy of being taxed within the state of Arizona for your estate tax transfer or your estate transfer. With respect to the federal government, the federal exemption amount is $5.4 million that you can transfer to your heirs tax-free. Now, that's not to say that your heirs or your beneficiaries would not be subject to taxes. There are other ways that they could be taxed. For example, with some of your investments, they could face taxes for any draws that they take on the investments, be in the form of income taxes, as well as if there's any investment property that you may get any investment property that may have improved in value or increased in value since you're passing. There could be potentially taxes on there as well.
Sure.
So you want to speak with an attorney about your specific circumstances because it's not just cut and dried. Always.
Right. Nothing is, especially when it comes to your estate, and especially if you have more than one children. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, when you have more than one child, I'm telling you now, I mean, I've been dealing with it for a year already, still with my father who passed away. And I would think that it would be cut and dry, but it's not. It's just not.
And it's really unfortunate sometimes because when mom and dad both pass and the estate's getting split, that's when a lot of
bad
emotions
things start to happen.
A lot of emotions come to the surface, and,
Oh, yeah.
and kids are fighting over things. And sometimes it's not necessarily of value. It could be something of sentimental value, and it can tear families apart. And the parents have the opportunity while they're alive to let their wishes be known and put it in writing. Don't just tell the kids, this is what I want, or don't just tell the kids, well, when I'm gone, take what you want. It's much better for them to specifically lay that out.
And it's really important that you take care of these things, or don't put your head in the sand in it, because the reason why is anything can happen to anyone, obviously, at any time. If you're just getting married, that's a great time to start putting this all together. If you have children, even more so. I don't care how old you are. People tend to think that estate planning is for older people.
That's absolutely correct. One of the things you mentioned, children, is that parents need to be thinking about what happens if something happens to both of us.
I was just going to ask that.
If both parents are gone, who's going to serve as guardian of my children? And if you don't specify who it is that you want to serve as guardian of your child or your children, the court's going to decide for you. And that could be a protracted legal battle, especially if you've got grandparents on each side that want custody of the children or guardianship of the children. So that's something that you would very much want to specify. And having the estate plan documents is not reserved just for people of means. Everybody needs one, especially as it relates to healthcare powers of attorney, an advanced healthcare directive, living will. Having these documents in place, not to mention a will, of course, is critical.
And especially, look what happens to some people, but by accident, don't even realize that they've done something to their own self. Even if it's over the counter, can happen.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
And that's
correct.
what we've been talking a little bit about today. He does free consultations with everyone. He is located in Fountain Hills, but can help anyone from anywhere. His phone number is 480-FH-LAWYER, and the website is fountainhillslawfirm.com. Real quickly, because we only have a couple of minutes here, and I got to get a couple of these things in here. We talked a little bit about if both parents die. What about our four-legged children?
Well, what you can do, there are pet trusts that you can set up to establish for your pets to make sure that they're cared for when you're not there. Not everyone needs a pet trust. You could simply allocate certain funds to someone that is going to take care of your animals. That's one of the tools that you can use there.
Okay, here's another one that I want to get out that I have never talked about, I don't think. What is healthcare and financial power of attorney?
A healthcare power of attorney is a directive that gives an agent or the person that you selected to make decisions on your behalf in matters related to healthcare when you cannot due to incapacity.
Real quickly, what are the must-haves?
Must-haves, you got to have a will. Absolutely have a will. If you don't see an attorney, you can write what's called a holographic will. It's something that's in your handwriting and signed by you, which would be presented in court. And so absolutely have to have a will and also a healthcare power of attorney.
Okay, and again, he is located in Fountain Hills, but can help anyone from anywhere. Please write this number down. I know it's Friday, and I know you're not thinking about doing anything like this, but you know what? It's informational, and it's important for you to write it down. It's 480-FH-LAWYER, Or you can also go on his website, which is fountainhillslawfirm.com. Final words.
I'd be happy to meet with anyone. And if anyone doesn't want to travel to my office, I do phone consultations as well. And again, I do different areas of law, DUI, and personal injury as well.
And again, he does free consultations with everyone. Give him a call. That number is 480-FH-LAWYER. It's fountainhillslawfirm.com.